There is one image there that shows black people getting off.
So people with dark skin getting off.
Not dark, black.
Black skin.
Really black. Yeah.
Were they tall?
Yes.
Very tall?
Yeah.
How tall? Do you know?
Well, they got out the doorway. I don't know how high that is, but
Well, what?
Say 7 feet would be probably a conservative estimate.
Huge cigar-shaped ship appeared over the Air Force Base. These cigar-shaped ships were over a mile in length. One of them landed on the airport landing strip area. The back of this craft opened up, and several hundred young men with huge, heavy weapons came out of two sides of the ship and formed a protection line around the ship. And the people at that Air Force base, the commander, had a meeting with the individuals that were aboard this ship. And this particular race that landed those ships and that are seen in these huge cigar-shaped ships, they are a black race. They look like African Americans. They were about 6'4", 6'5", huge weapons. And if you've ever seen a race of people that were conquerors, that had never been conquered, they've got this look about them of arrogance. That's exactly what these extraterrestrials had, and they informed these people at this American Air Force base that not only were they from a militaristic society, but they had control a large portion of the galaxy that we live in.
Check. Welcome to the Forefront Radio. Welcome to the Forefront Radio. I'm your host, Aphiel Levi. Hope everybody's doing all right. We're going to have another live discussion today on the Forefront Radio in regards to black angels, 7-foot tall black angels, baby. Very important conversation for today. On the Forefront Radio, how we talk, y'all understand. We cover today's viral phenomenon and help you to see how it meet the echoes of ancient scripture. I'm your host, Aphiel Levi. For those that don't know, you can donate to our efforts to teach on Cash App, APHIELLEVI, also on paypal.me/APHIELLEVI. So tonight, our exploration begins with a striking clip circulating across World Star Hip Hop, YouTube, TikTok, and beyond. A man claims to have seen 7-foot tall black men coming out of a spaceship.
Picture, there is one image there that shows black people getting off.
So people with dark skin getting off.
Not dark, black.
Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Let's talk about Ezekiel's vision and his divine, majestic figures that he documents in his Bible. But before we do, let's read some scripture at Psalm chapter 119, verse 97. It says, Psalm chapter 119, verse 97. Oh, how I love thy law. What does the Bible say? Oh, how I love thy law. It is my meditation all the day. Meaning, instead of meditating on, spa music, we meditate on the scriptures. Instead of meditating on chakras and burning sage and trying to connect to the astral plane, we meditate on scriptures over here. Thou, through thy commandments, has made me wiser than my enemies, for they are ever with me. So, the enemies of this Bible, the enemies of God's chosen people, they will speculate and say, these entities that we see are angels, demons, blah, 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 aliens, that's what they say. But the Bible tells you clearly what these interdimensional beings are. You don't have to have NASA to speculate it for you. You see, the other nations, they'll call it aliens, but the Bible calls them angelic hosts, angelic armies. You understand? Now, let's start with Ezekiel chapter 1. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 1 real quick. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 1. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 1. where the prophet describes a vision of 4 living creatures accompanied by wheels within wheels, each creature moving with divine purpose and emanating overwhelmingly with power. Now, while so-called scholars do not explicitly mention skin color, many people that understand the truth of the scriptures with overwhelming consensus give a positive interpretation and view that this embodies the majesty of melanated spiritual authority. And we're going to see a compelling parallel when we see that clip on World Star Hip Hop and on YouTube about 7-foot tall black aliens. Listen close. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 7. It says, "And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their foot was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass." Burnished brass. Burnt brass, y'all. If I burn brass in a furnace, what color does it turn? Black. Not only was it brown because it was brass, but it says burnished, like burned in a furnace, brass. So the angels are what? Black. Watch this. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 13. "As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire." What color is charcoal? What color is charcoal? Black. Look at black. Biggity. Black. Charcoal, ladies and gentlemen, is black. We're reading in the Bible about the angelic black angels. Watch this. "As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning." So they were moving so swift. These angelic hosts were moving so swift, they moved like lightning, y'all. Do y'all understand that? Now, let's touch on this. The Book of Enoch and the Watchers and the Nephilim. When you turn to the Book of Enoch, we encounter entities called Watchers, angels who descended to earth, engaging with human intelligence and women. They fathered a group known as the Nephilim, and they're described as gigantic, powerful beings. That's according to Wikipedia. These giants represent a fusion of celestial and terrestrial realms, mirroring the idea of towering figures appearing in modern media. Now let's touch on 2nd Esdras chapter 13. The man of the sea. Now the prophet Ezra, also known as the priest of the tribe of Levi, had prophetic dreams about the second coming of Christ, a man rising from the sea, aka space, flying among the clouds. His gaze causes all beneath to tremble, and when he speaks, those who hear them melt like wax, according to BibleStudyTools.com and Bible Gateway. Let's go to it real quick in the actual Apocrypha, King James Version, 1611, the second book of Esdras about the Messiah, Jesus the Christ, or Yahushua, or Yeshua. 2nd Esdras chapter 2nd Esdras chapter 13. Let's find this real quick. 2nd Esdras chapter 13. 2nd Esdras chapter 13. Give me a moment. Let me pull it up on my Bible app. Second Esdras chapter 13. Let's start at verse 1. Second Esdras chapter 13, we're going to start at verse 1 because we're going to get insightful scriptures that help us to understand what's going to happen at the second coming of the Messiah. Very insightful scriptures that we have to study and understand in these last days in regards to what many have been trying to hide from us for centuries. And it's great to study these scriptures because these scriptures give us insight on how we should understand the future events of humanity. "And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. Now this man that waxed strong with the thousands of heaven is the Son of Man, also referenced in the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jude as the one coming with the thousands of heaven. Watch this. Hold that. Let's go to the Book of Jude right before we get to Revelation. Let's go to the Book of Jude and let's notice something here. This is the Book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 1. It says, Jude, the servant of Jesus Christ and brother of James, to them that are sanctified by God the Father and preserved in Jesus Christ and called. Mercy unto you and peace and love be multiplied. Now notice what it's going to say in verse 14. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, meaning he has a book of writings where he has his wise sayings written down. Of these, saying, Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his saints. Does that sound like what we just read in the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 13, verse 2? It sure does. It sure does. Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon all, to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So, this is a direct quote from the Book of Enoch by Jude, placed right before the Book of Revelation in the New Testament. Let's go back to the Apocrypha, 2nd Esdras chapter 13, verse 2. It says, And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. Verse 3, And I beheld, and lo, that man, meaning the Lord, waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Verse 4, And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth fails when it feels the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain and flew upon it. What does the Bible say? And flew upon it. This is at the second coming of Christ, where a multitude of men will come with their military force to fight against Christ and his angels. Now watch this. Verse 8, And after this I beheld, and lo, after all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and a great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up, every one of them. So that upon a sudden innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. So he saw this vision. He was freaked out. He was like, yo, I saw all of these military force coming against Christ and the angels. They were coming with tanks and rocket launches, F-16 fighter, all of this stuff. And all Christ had to do was open his mouth, and fire came and devoured them all. And out of all of that military armaments, NATO, United States Marines, right? All of this stuff, all was left was dust and smell of smoke, y'all. They were afraid of the black angels coming with Christ. They're afraid of this thing, y'all. They're afraid of this thing. Y'all understand? They're afraid of the second coming of the black Messiah. So in 2nd Esdras, his gaze causes all beneath to shake. And a massive crowd attempts to confront him, but he ascends on a mountain and releases a breath of fire that annihilates them instantly. You can read about that on Bible Study Tools and BibleGateway.com. 2nd Esdras chapter 13. Afterwards, he calls forth the peaceful multitude of the Israelites by his side, a powerful image of divine justice and redemption for those that have been oppressed on the earth. So Jesus Christ, Yahushua, Yeshua, as a commander of the celestial armory, as a true believer of the writings, I see these visions converge into a single spiritual theme. Our Black Messiah will return as a sovereign. He's often described not as meek, but a majestic commander of heavenly armies, a whole armada prepared to vanquish evildoers and establish divine order. So, after you see this viral clip, do you feel a familiarity with this thing? Perhaps it's an instinctual echo of deep-seated spiritual imagery from Ezekiel's spiritual entities, powerful and awe-inspiring, to Enoch's giants, embodying both cosmic and physical dominance, to the warrior of 2nd Esdras, divine, triumphant, and transformative. These ancient narratives may be resurfacing through modern imagery, reminding us of Black spiritual heritage and cosmic hope. So in a viral clip, towering Black figures emerge from an otherworldly craft, a scene that echoes Ezekiel's living creatures, Enoch's colossal giants, and the fiery warrior of 2nd Esdras, who represents the Messiah. It's not a glimpse into the paranormal, folks, but a symbol of manifested spiritual destiny, righteous lineage, majestic emissaries, a returning king commanding divine justice. Could this be a modern whisper of a sacred ancient voice? I wonder. So thank you for listening to The Forefront Radio, where the truth does not fear investigation. I'm your host, Aphiel Levi Israel. May your path be guided by revelation, truth, justice, rooted in resilience, and inspired by the Eternal One. Thank you for listening. With that, we say shalom and peace to the 12.
Picture, there is one image there that shows Black people getting off.
So people with dark skin getting off.
Not dark, black.